Hello, everyone. It is February the 11th, 2021, and we are here for another episode of the Police Softball Podcast. I am your host, Trinidad, and I've got my partner, Joe, that'll be joining me here just shortly. Yeah, he's here now. Had a little bit of a connectivity problem, but I think he's good now. So let me bring Joe on in here real quick so we can get this started. And I apologize because typically we go live a little earlier and give you guys a chance to get signed up. We kind of sprung it on you right at 7 o'clock. So I apologize for that. We'll try to get on a little earlier next time, but hey, we're here. And so let me just so you know who I am. I'm Trinidad, and I am a United States Air Force veteran, a retired law enforcement officer for 23 years. I'm a two-time cancer survivor, a franchise business owner, and the founder of a nonprofit called Shields for Kids. I'm very proud of our organization. And is supported by you guys whenever you come to our tournaments, whenever you participate in any of our raffles. It's a bunch of officers that go out and we provide for kids in the community that are in need. And we do this a lot of times in our off-duty status to be able to really show these children and these families just how much we care about them, where they're on our own dime and on our own time to provide these gives and this help for these kids in the community. So thank you guys very much for your support. And when it comes to law enforcement softball, I'm the coach of our SA Law softball team, San Antonio Law. We won a couple of national titles. I'm a Chevy Wright Sportsman of the Year award winner, a Pat Hill Inspiration Award winner, and the Texas Police Athletic Foundation and PS.com Hall of Fame inductee. So I'm very proud of those accomplishments, those things that have been awarded. Take a lot of pride in those things. I've got my partner, Joe, getting ready to join me, and let's bring him on. Joe, are we good now?
I don't think so, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good, man.
All right, because it's slow on my end. Everything's delayed that I'm looking at, but
Yeah.
I think I rebooted the router, and they said I talked to somebody in my IT department at work. They said the ice that we have right now is going to be causing me issues with the internet. So I'm hooked up to 5G Wi-Fi, and it's just super slow over here. So
Yeah, no problem, man. Well, end result is we can hear you.
okay.
And we can see it's a little delayed, but it's not a big deal, man. It won't affect the the things that you have to share and so input that you've got. So Joe's the my friend, and he's the coach of the Missouri Lawmen, the director of the Show Me Classic. What are those dates, Joe?
It's going to be July 31st and August 1st. It'll be a Saturday, Sunday. Just like it's typically the first weekend in August, but that was the only weekend available. So that's what we got.
Got you. He's the Louisville Slugger Masters Division coach, the East Conference Manager of the Year, and yeah, those are the new threads that he's acquired. Where's the other one? Got the other one with you?
Yeah, I got the other one came in as well. They both sets came in. There's your blue number 11. So
nice. I hope I've lost a little weight. What size is it?
That's a small, so it should be okay.
Good. Well, those sleeves are coming off. I told you about that before we started, right? The sleeves, I don't play with sleeves.
I'll have them cut for you.
Thank you. So we're happy to have our guests with us also. They'll be coming on here in just a little bit to have some discussions on some interesting topics. We're going to have some waiver discussion, and we're going to get into that here in just a little bit. And two-state rule discussion that's just going to be able to talk about what your preference is when it comes to attending tournaments. Do you prefer the two-state rule, or do you like going to an open tournament? And so we'll be discussing those things later. Joe, one of the things that I wanted to do was I like highlighting these. Well, let me just first say hello to Giselle. Hello, Giselle. I've been doing excellent. Thank you very much. Audrey, thank you so much for joining us. And Audrey Corinne. All right. Very nice. Andreas, thank you very much for joining us again. I wanted to be able to talk about one of the things that I enjoy is highlighting these players who we know what a lot of these guys and gals do off the field. I'm sorry, on the field, but off the field is something I like to bring attention to. So got a little segment called Players Doing Great Things Off the Field. And one of those things that I wanted to talk about was a a guy that you guys know his name is Spencer Craven. Y'all guys know Spencer. But we've got Spencer. He's with the North Florida Showdown. And let me just take this off the screen and see if we can. We had a proud wife post, and that is Spencer was awarded a meritorious award for successfully stopping and apprehending a suspect and his victim that suspect had carjacked. And this is what basically what that award had said. Let me bring that thing up real quick. So this thing said, as a member of the Northwest District during the course of 2019, you worked a case involving a reckless driver on I-95. You spotted the suspect who was covered in blood and observed a bloody front passenger who fled from you driving erratically, running cars off the road till the front passenger exited the vehicle on the side of I-95. Though a language barrier existed, you persisted and learned that this was a victim of a kidnapping that just occurred in Jacksonville. Through your diligence and perseverance, the suspect was apprehended and brought to justice. So it's an awesome job, Spencer and Holly. I understand you being proud of him and posting that. A lot of times we won't say those types of things to anyone outside of our department, but I think those things do need to be recognized. And I think it's neat when we, Joe, get to find out about guys that, you go to Vegas or you go to these tournaments and you see these guys playing and but you don't really know who they are. And it's neat to be able to see the kind of things that they're doing, whether it be at work or off duty with a nonprofit or anything like that. I just think it's a neat thing to get to know each other on a different level like that.
Yeah, not only does he hit 450-foot home runs, but he also is good at his job. That's good.
All right. Yeah. So Spencer, congratulations to you, man. Great work. One of the other things that I wanted to highlight was, we all know, well, most of us know Mario Foster and Jennifer Foster. And there was something that I saw. Mario plays for the Mid-Atlantic Lawmen. And there was something I saw over the weekend that I just thought was extremely touching. And I'd like for you guys to take a look at it.
So amazing how this woman here loves me. It's so amazing how this woman here protects me. She's a queen and man, that smile is a true blessing. She gave us life and sacrifice without us asking. Don't know how she did it, but she always made a way. So if I could imagine God, I see my mama's face. No one could ever take this woman's place. And I'm blessed to say that I got my mama. If nobody ever ride for me, if nobody else would die for me, I got my mama. You mean more than you could ever think. And to the top of my lungs I will scream, I got my mama. If nobody else supports me, get down on their knees and pray for me, I got my mama. Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, man, when I saw that, like just right now, I'm getting a little emotional. That's such a neat tribute, and it's just to me an example of just some great upbringing that those two are doing off the field. So congratulations to you,
100%.
Mario and Jennifer. That was awesome. And it really was very touching. And I'm very happy that you guys shared that on social media. A lot of times social media gets a knock, Joe. But that I believe that's why, social media was created to stay connected in those ways. And, next time I see those young men, I'm going to let them know exactly how they touched my life when I saw it. It was very, very cool.
We need to get them down to Waxahachie.
Yeah, they're coming. Mid-Atlantic's going to be there.
Nice.
So we're good to go. And then, one thing I wanted to do was to also recognize Mario. Congratulations to you, man. So Mario has a new position, and I know that it's there on the screen. He's the Chief Foster of the University District of Columbia, and he is now going to be the Chief of Police there in their Emergency Management Division. I think it's with the United States Department of Treasury. So Mario, congratulations again, man. This guy is just an outstanding representative of the military, with his prior service, and then ultimately as a law enforcement officer, and of course as a great softball player. So congratulations to you, man. Let's see here. Thomas says, hello. What's going on, Tom? And then we've got Eric says, I'm working out here watching this. Can't be getting emotional. Congrats, Mario. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, Joe, I went to Vegas this last weekend, and I was there for Super
What's
Bowl.
new, man? You go
Tuesday
there
to
every month,
Tuesday.
man.
And it was very cool. I got an opportunity to go to a buddy of mine's wedding. Congratulations to the Lunas. And then after that, stayed for Super Bowl. It was pretty cool, man. It was nice. Stayed at the Wynn. It's always nice. They're very clean, very spaced out. And I got a message from our next officer that I want to highlight. This is Perry Moore. He plays with Team Texas, and he told me that he had just missed me. He said that he was in and out of Vegas. He's headed to Utah to run a marathon. So that's him right there in Utah. Holy smokes. It's crazy, man. So he has found his therapy in running. This guy has run 36 full marathons and 36 half marathons. So he was going to Utah. He sent me a picture there, but I'm going to highlight some of these other marathons that he was in. I think this first one's a San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon. The next one's a Chicago Marathon. The next was Seattle Rock and Roll Marathon. He ran the New York City Marathon. I'm getting tired reading these things. Can't imagine running them.
You got to have some mental strength to be able to do something like that.
Dude, it's crazy, especially in that weather, right? Like David Goggins talks about, callousing the mind, man. That's awesome. Washington, D.C. Marine Corps Marathon. He ran the Phoenix Rock and Roll Marathon, Cincinnati Flying Pig Marathon, the CDA, because I didn't want to try to pronounce it, marathon in Idaho. And this last one was in Kansas City. He ran the Little Apple Marathon. And what was special about this shirt was that his coworker's daughter had unfortunately, taken her own life. And this race, he ran that shirt with her picture on it in her honor. So that was a very special race to him. So Perry, man, congratulations to you, man, on being able to find a therapy and on being able to do something that brings you joy, but also allows you to cope, with those struggles that we have, not only in our everyday lives, but of course, being a first responder. So Perry, congratulations to you, man. Some great accomplishments there. It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, that is, like I said, the mental strength that takes is amazing. Be able to do that, let alone one, he's doing, a dozen of them. That's crazy.
Yeah. 36 full marathons, 36
3 dozen. 3 dozen.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, that's nuts. So one of the things I'm going to do is leaving on that last picture, Joe, was we had an officer here in San Antonio who unfortunately also had his situations pile up against him, and felt that at the time that his only solution was to end his life. And it was a sad situation. And one of those things I want to talk about is we highlighted that on our show before. So briefly, I wanted to just be able to encourage people like we have in the past, as far as either making that call, if you feel like you have somebody that might be, struggling, or even if you just have a feeling, man, it's good to just call and say, hey, man, how's it going? Just something, you want to be able to make that call, because I know that it has paid off in the past when I've made that call. But it also is important to understand what you're doing for that person on the other end when they're receiving that call. And so I encourage you to do that. I've been very fortunate in my time to have made a few of those calls. I'm very happy because I didn't know for sure if I was going to offend somebody or not, but it was the right thing to do. I felt it in my heart. And so if we can bring that back up again, that is a resource out there that maybe either you can share with somebody, or that maybe you can share with somebody. And it's if you can't call one of us, which that myself, and I know I'm speaking for Joe, I'm absolutely here with no judgments. I'm very good at being able to understand situations, and so and to be trustworthy when it comes to the confidentiality of that. So I hope that you can call me. If you don't feel like you can, there's a resource there. So on that note, wanted to introduce something else, Joe, unless you had something to add to that. You good?
I'm good, my man.
Cool. So we had another little part of this that I wanted to do is a little bit of a throwback Thursday kind of thing. So I invite you guys, look at that. You like that fancy intro? Thank you, Deanna, for that. We have
I knew you didn't make that.
I don't know. We have a Throwback Thursday. So what I'd like to invite you to do, man, is you've been playing for a while. You've got some neat pictures of, some old teams that you played with, or maybe a little write up on them or something like that. I think it'd be really neat. SA Law's been around since '88. So there's a lot of history in our team. So yeah, I'm going to be bringing up a few of our Throwback Thursday photos, but this one is from Tommy Eldridge. It's from the CT Lawman, and this is an old photo of theirs. And one of the things he talked about was being sponsored. I have it on my phone here. Let's see what he's got. But one of the things he talked about when this happened is this was back in the 80s and 90s when he traveled all over the country. They were sponsored by the Foxwood Casino, and they paid for everything like uniforms, hotels, and flights. They won the World Series 2 years in a row, and that's when it was only one division. And it's going to be interesting. We'll be talking about, waiver discussions, things of that sort. But at this point, there was only one division, and they were ranked number 2 in the country for a while behind the LAPD Blue. But take a look at these teams, Joe. Been around for a little while. I recognize some of those names in there. Some of them I've never heard of before. But
I recognize a few. There's definitely a few I don't.
Yeah. So that's pretty neat to be able to see that.
The Lhasa Wongs.
Yeah, I saw that.
The LAPD Red. I'm guessing, I don't know if that's a fire team or what that is, but there's another FD there. So it looks like it might have been those are, I don't know if that's all law enforcement or not on that list.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure either. I probably is. I know Tommy's on here, so maybe he can answer that for us. But yeah, man. So that was our Throwback Thursday. If you got a team you'd like to be able to highlight from back in the day, man, be sure and send it in. So Joe,
yes, sir.
About that time, we got the ice building up everywhere. Did you hear about that 100-car pileup in Fort Worth?
I heard about it. Yeah, I didn't see. I know people were looking at videos and pictures and everything.
Oh God, that was hard.
Hopefully, whenever everyone made it out of that, okay. I'm sure there was injuries and everything, but
yeah, unfortunately, some didn't. So, but yeah, it's just a reminder to stay off those roadways till we get a break. But yeah, that was difficult to watch. Hey, listen. So I know, Joe, we're going to end up having a couple of guests on here to help us with these discussions. We have our first discussion. I think that would be a good one to have is the 2-state rule. And one of the things I wanted to bring up about that was, let's say hi real quick first. Yeah, there we go. We had our intro. Deanna's good. She's quick, man. She's good. That's it. That's great. That was my bad, Deanna, just so you know. She's like, hell yeah, it's yours. I know that. So let's see. We got Donnie back again. That's what I'm talking about. What's going on, Donnie? Tyler Wilson says Perry is a beauty. What's going on, boys? John Irvin, thanks for joining us again. And Shane, gents, what's cracking? Man, I like having Shane on the show. It's gonna be good. We definitely could have had him on this show. That'd have been a good one.
We would have never got off of the show, man. It would have been 2-3 hours worth of talk, and Shane would have been doing about two and a half of those hours.
There's Shane right there. If you didn't know, that was a nice one. Deanna's looking for a raise. I just gave you a raise, Deanna, but you're doing a great job.
She is doing a good job.
All right, so Jay Witt got some fans going on here. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see, Andreas. Oh yeah, the FedEx truck. That video. He's talking about the video, man. Oh, it's very difficult to watch. But I saw one of those things on the way back from Kansas. I had one of those situations take place over a bridge, man. It was a tough one to watch. Mark says, watching on news out here in Cali now. Be safe. And Thomas says, yes, they're all law enforcement teams, and during that time, no home run limit.
That should have been some high-scoring games with no home run limit.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Terry Dugan, what's up, Mr. Vegas? What's up, Terry?
It's your second home, man. You're there all the time.
I like that place, and they like me. They must like what I do for them. And Ralph, what's going on, Ralph? Nice to see you, man. Saw you hitting on the internet not too long ago. I know these guys are going to go some Throwback Thursday. Good photos. Ralph can hit, son. He's still out there hitting really well. He's getting ready for some stuff. Oh, here comes. Jeff, let's see what he says. On that USSSA team list earlier, Newport PD was listed. Dell and I played on that team, and that team is why PS.com exists. Wow. Awesome. They benched him, and he decided to start his own team on the OC Alliance, which led to the SoCal Alliance, which led to PS.com. Look at that, man. That's some interesting history there, man.
Very nice.
Yeah, very cool. Newport PD, huh? Newport. Yeah. Man, those this guy's got a lot of teams out there, huh?
Thanks for tuning in, Jeff, and feeding us his knowledge.
Yep. All right. Thomas says the finals in the Worlds. We beat New Jersey Lawman. Yep. And that was pretty cool. It'd be neat to have some video and see those shorts going on back then. 47-45. That's what he said was the score. Yeah.
That's I figured. Awesome. Yeah.
All right. So let's go with let's bring our guest on real quick, and then we'll start this two-state rule talk real quick. First, we're going to bring on Steve. Bring Steve, and that's how we'll talk to him. What's going on, Steve?
What's going on, guys? How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Yes, excited to have you back, dude. You're a good wealth of information. Also, Steve is on the DEA combo in 2013 World Series All World, the DEA combo 2014 Majors World Series champion. Let me know if I'm wrong about any of this, Steve, because I know competition committee member and the West Coast Hall of Fame committee member.
Yeah, that's right.
Steve's one hell of a pitcher, and we're happy to have him back on, man. So we're gonna have Steve on to join us, and we're also gonna have Jay Witt. Justin has already got fans piping up. What's going on, Justin? Oh, I think he's on mute. Let's see if we can get him.
I think you're on mute, Justin.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Why y'all always down here with the guy with good hair? This is ridiculous.
Well, I had to grow some hair because I knew Steve was coming on.
I know Shane's listening. I want to see him type what he thinks about your mustache, Joe. If there's enough character boxes.
He loves.
I grew this beard to try to be as long as his hair.
Your beard looks very nice, Whit. Looks very nice.
I like it. There's no grays, which I'm a fan of.
Somebody, I don't remember who it was, before the show said that Joe must have lost a bet because of that mustache. Let's see here. Shane says, and part-time Mo Lawman.
He's talking about Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shane.
You left that off the banner.
That might be a good one, Deanna. We'll add that one on there. Jess says, don't trust a hillbilly with a computer.
Hey, I had to rent it from the library.
Well, since we have Jeff listening, Jeff, I'll welcome you all, as always, to call in here in just a little bit. I'll let you hear some of the conversation first, and we'll bring you in to kind of wrap it up, see what your thoughts are. But if you're available, if not, then that's cool. But hey, let's discuss this, a two-state rule tournament. So one of the things I wanted to bring up is that, we have my bad, Justin. Yeah, there we go. Let's bring up Justin again. He's the 2018 World Series MVP and the 2016 National Police Softball Championship MVP. And Justin, for those that don't know, what position?
Man, whichever one they bring me to. I also joined Steve on the competition committee, and then recently joined the East Coast Hall of Fame committee as well. So
awesome. We'll get that added on there. So yeah, man. But typically, you play. Don't you play infield? And aren't you in the?
I'll pitch whenever they start hitting at our guy. Devin's a little soft, so when they start hitting at him, then I'll pitch. But other than that, mostly middle.
Yeah. Because I remember you went back and forth. I thought you'd went back from short and middle, man, but I wasn't too sure. I knew it was in that middle. So we're talking about the two-state rule tournaments, and one of the things I wanted to just find out was, obviously we have our Keepers of the Peace, that National Softball Championships coming up, and having the two-state rule or not having the two-state rule was a big decision to make. We've had the Texas Showdown before where we haven't had a state rule, and I had a lot of great feedback from that one. Gave an opportunity for a lot of people to get together and play on teams that they wouldn't normally play on, or if the availability wasn't there for a team going that they normally play with, they'd be able to put some feelers out there and get picked up. So, and people just want to come to Texas, so it was a neat thing with the Texas Showdown, but then with the Keepers of the Peace tournament, it was more of a, hey, we want to have more of a setup like the World Series where you're really playing with your team and you're limited. So that way it's more of a even playing field. So I was just curious today to get some feedback from everybody out there to be able to see like, what is your tournament? What is your team or like your coaches? What do they look for in a tournament? Do you prefer the 2-state rule or do you like it open? So let's start with you guys first. Let's see who might comment and give some feedback on the chat box.
Steve, go ahead. Your hair says you're wiser.
Yeah, I wish. Personally, I like it to be open. I like more options instead of less. Trini, when you say, an even playing field, by having the 2-state rule, in my opinion, that's somewhat subjective. What do you define as even playing field? A population like California versus a population like Kentucky, I'll use Witt State. Is that an even playing field in and of itself? I would say no. So in my opinion, I like opening it up. I'll leave it at that in terms of my initial comments and see what Witt has to say, coming from probably the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of options and availability, being from a much smaller state with a smaller population density and smaller amount of law enforcement, where I'm coming from California, which arguably has the most amount of options out of any state out there, in my opinion. So I'm curious to hear what Justin has to say, but initially I'll just leave it at I prefer the open instead of the 2-state adjoining, which I find to be, in my opinion, just somewhat arbitrary, just because it's simply based on geography and has nothing to do with, again, the population, the amount of law enforcement officers, the sizes of the department, or anything else that might, quote, level the playing field.
Yeah, I think like when I was talking about it before, it was for us, SA Law, we're just going to go. I mean, open, not, if we want to go to a certain tournament, we want to experience it, we're going to show up. And, if nothing else, we're going to play a bunch of teams that maybe pulled from different states, and maybe there's some kind of super team at that tournament. We're just going to get better for it. And we're there to up our game and ultimately, got you, Deanna, and ultimately, see what we can do. And we're doing everything so that when we do go to Vegas, which is our for the World Series, that's our ultimate goal. Everything we do in the year is building up to Vegas. So for us, we're just going to get stronger. And it doesn't really matter to us. But I have heard from teams who didn't want to attend a 2-state rule tournament, an open tournament. We don't like that because we don't know who we're going to be playing. And so that's where that kind of comment came up, when they really don't want to go to a tournament like that and just get slaughtered by teams. I think that they think we'll just team up and just try to rule everybody. But let's see what I'll bring Joe and Justin back on, and we'll see what they have to say. All right. So which one wants to go next?
Justin, go ahead, bud.
Yeah. So I'm going to be on the other end of the spectrum for the opposite reasons of Steve. One of the main reasons I coach Louisville here in Kentucky, and one of the main reasons that we go to tournaments is the camaraderie, playing in the law enforcement circuit. We like playing with guys we work with. I understand in some of the bigger states that have more options that they're not talking to these guys on an everyday basis, but for our team, we see these guys on runs. We see them. We're working riots with them. We're calling them. They're our detectives. They're our supervisors. We're a family. And whenever we go to these tournaments, it matters, especially whenever it's a tournament that's open. There's a lot of money involved in this game. Guys are taking off work. They're traveling to these tournaments. There's not any tournaments held in Kentucky. So mostly besides Cincinnati, which is about an hour drive, hour and a half. St. Louis is about a 4-hour drive. But other than that, we're getting on a plane and we're going to these tournaments. So you're talking about a lot of money to go out and play. We're going to Tampa here in a couple weeks. We'll go to Myrtle Beach. We'll go to Vegas. We're going to try to make it down to yours in Texas here this year. We're going to get out to the single agency out in California. So there's a lot of money being put out by these guys, and there's an investment with taking off of work. In that, going to a tournament or every tournament where it's wide open, we just don't we don't get the bang for the buck. We're getting beat, we're getting drilled. Sure, we're playing the best competition, but we're not picking guys up. We're playing with our normal team that we go to Las Vegas with. Right? I believe that when PS.com was founded, and Dell and JB made the rules, and JB can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it used to be one state. They expanded it to 2 states. I think that that's a fair margin for players to be able to find a team, to be able to go to these tournaments and to be able to compete. I agree with Steve on one thing that he said. California is a huge state. They have a lot of options for tournaments. They have a lot of options for players. I don't know what that answer is, but I do know that I don't like the opportunity to open this up to where you can pick up players from all around the country, and then it becomes who has the best sponsor and who can pull in the players. That, to me, that's civilian softball. And the reason why a lot of us play police softball is for the togetherness, the camaraderie, and for the family.
Well, I got an opinion on it in it as well, and it kind of is a little bit on, taking a little bit from Whit, take a little bit from Steve. The way I was explained to it, we were just recently explained as a competition committee how the 2-state rule came about, and the way Jeff explained it is that on the East Coast, it mainly was just one state teams throughout the whole East Coast, and then the West Coast, which pretty much just played all West Coast tournaments back in the day, was just an open free for all. Everyone just played with whoever you wanted. And then when they started the PS.com World Series and to bring the East and West together, they came to the, I guess to the happy medium, or whatever you want to call it, of a 2-state adjoining rule. Because the East wanted 1 state, West wanted it open. They compromised and came up with the 2-state rule. Now, to what Steve said about the California, it's not going to be, you're not going to have as many police officers. It's in California as you are Kentucky. But I think that 2-state adjoining rule helps balance out the competition somewhat, because you do have that monster state of California or New York or even Texas. And then you got a state like Kentucky that can, hook up with Ohio or Illinois. And I think that combination of those 2 states is going to be able to be more competitive. That team's going to be more competitive with a team out of California that's got their pick of, however many hundreds of thousands of cops that are out there. And it's going to make the competition more balanced, in my opinion. That being said, I do like having the opportunity to go out and play in open tournaments. So I like having that option where there are open tournaments available to play, because I do like playing with guys like Steve, with guys like Whaley, a couple guys that play with us in these open tournaments. And it's fun to get out there and play with these other guys too. You know what I mean? That's one thing I'm looking forward to with the Masters, is that we're playing with a lot of different people from a lot of different teams. You know what I mean? We got Texas, we got Louisiana, we got Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, and it's fun to get out there and do that as well, and play with these guys that you're friends with around the country. But as far as the tournaments like the World Series or the East Coast, West Coast Conference Championships, I think that keeping those, 2-state adjoining rule, I think makes sense. That's my opinion. I know, Steve, you don't agree with that, but it is, that's my opinion. And just for the record, obviously St. Louis every year except for last year because of the whole COVID thing, I keep it a 2-state. I like the 2-state rule. And I'm
not every year, Joe. You only started that a few years back. Don't lie to the people.
Not every year, but every year since. Okay,
I'm here to keep you honest, because I know that you only started that after Tyndall jumped out with Great Lakes and people complained. If we want to be honest about things,
we are being honest about it. You didn't let me. So here, every year since I made it to 2-state rule,
that's better.
Except for last year.
So every year except last year, from the recent years, most of the years, some of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, if there's one show you better watch, it's like being interrogated all the time. Even if we're joking or laughing, it's like, dude, everybody has interrogation skills here. You better watch what you say because they're going to come back.
So 4 out of the last 5 years, basically.
There you go. That's more accurate.
And it's it's worked out, and I like the idea of it. But I also, like I said,
I just want to point out that my internet worked. My internet does work.
He froze when he said my internet worked. That was awesome.
Did you do that on purpose? How'd you do that?
I just stopped.
So I'd like to, Trini, if I can, respond to a couple things that Whit and Joe said. So Whit hit home with camaraderie, which I get, and that's why I play as well, right? I don't play civvies at all because I don't find there to be camaraderie whatsoever. It's, I want to jump to this team or do that team, or this team is going to pay for me to do this and what have you. But again, like, who's to say camaraderie only exists within your state or within your department, right? We preach a lot on the circuit about, everybody being brothers and law enforcement and so on and so forth. You guys are all, fortunate enough to maybe play with people in your home agency. To the best of my knowledge, I'm the only person in my agency on the circuit. I know there was a guy in Chicago, but I don't think he's played in a couple of years. And the guy out of Florida, he doesn't play anymore either. So, I don't have that quote home agency, so to speak, that some people do. And then going back to some of the other things about, California having options, I'll use myself as an example. It's well known that California, in my opinion, is not a well-traveled team to go support the Midwest or East Coast or what have you. Maybe one, maybe two teams go. Using myself as the example, for better, worse, or indifferent, I pitch only. So if I'm not the pitcher in California or one of two pitchers in California getting the call, I'm just shit out of luck and I don't get to go support these tournaments. So I understand that there might be people that don't want to go play these super teams if they're thrown together. But what about the people, maybe they're a DH only or they're very limited, so they can't jump on with those teams. They're sitting at home wanting to support and they don't. The answer to that could be, hey, maybe your tournaments, in a way to grow them, you have the open division and then the 2-state division or something. I mean, we've already broken it up into uppers and lowers. So if you're afraid of that super team, that's going to be an uppers team. I think Mark had said earlier in the comment section that it used to be all one division, and yeah, exactly. No state rule and only one bracket when he started playing. And now all of a sudden we have, we're limited by geography. We have 4 different brackets and, everything is in, wanting to make it fair or even. But for whatever reason, this, and I'll troll JB since he's trolling me, this antiquated 2-state rule, we're holding on to it for what reason, and to say that it's, I think we have a healthy balance. Some tourneys are open, some are 2-state rule. Perfect. So I agree with JB. However, I'm seeing a lot more tournaments throughout the year kind of mirroring that World Series format, and it's their own choice. But Joe, you started doing it, like you said, 5 years ago. Trini, I think Texas started employing it. So it's starting a trend to make it mirror the World Series, I think, in an effort to force people to bring their, quote, World Series team to these tournaments. But what if your team doesn't travel well, right? Like, what if you only have 5 guys that are willing to travel? Like, I don't know. I'm all for, especially as I get older, more options instead of less, to get more people to these tournaments and meet awesome guys like I have across the country. And, I just want that opportunity for more people.
I think what you're saying is it really can also break down from tournament directors and their view on like trying to put a tournament on. There's so much that goes into it. And, are you, like you said, Steve, if you're trying to build a tournament up, you might go for the open teams because you're going to get more teams to come in. I think when we started this, I didn't know how it was going to go. So I said, all right, I'm going to leave it open because that was my thought process. Let's see if I can just get this thing even on the map. And then ultimately it did really well, a lot of great reviews. And so I said, all right. And I started getting requests for the 2-state rule. So that it would be more like the World Series. People were looking for another type of World Series. No, nothing can replace it, of course, but something like it so that we have more than just one going on. And people wanted to come to Texas. So I think it's just like from a tournament director, it's difficult because you're like me right now. I'm with I don't know how many teams. I don't know if I have 5 or something like that, maybe 6. But it's like, oh man, am I going to get to that 16? And it's tempting to want to open it up. But I think it's also what are the masses going to do? Are we like the waiver discussion is going to be coming up. So that waiver discussion could be more of a, like what you're talking about, Steve. I can see more of a, all right, we really need to look at this because there are some players that are going to be restricted because of unique situations. And I think that's what the committee's there to do. But as far as tournaments, I think tournament directors are really in a tough situation in trying to just get people to just show up. That's a big thing. And then, once it gets on the map, then you can make that decision. So
to Steve's point, let me just hit his point real quick. There's 30-ish teams in California.
I don't know. Sure. Sounds right.
So to travel to these tournaments, you don't have to come with one team in California. It's a 2-state rule. It's not a 2-team rule. I get it, but I'm going off of history. I mean, Joe, in any given year, how many California teams? What's been your highest number of California teams? 3? But you probably have a night shift team, right? How hard would it be to grab 10 or 11 guys from 30 teams? If they have 10 guys per team, that's 300 guys just in California. That's more than any team, any other state, 2 states, 3 states, 4 states. If you grab one guy from every 3rd team in California, then you could come to any tournament in the country. So I guess that's my point is whenever we start to dismantle this 2-state rule, JB says it a lot, and I tend to agree with him that we don't have a problem with a number of teams, and we don't have a problem with a number of players. We have a problem with a number of leaders in our sport. And if you want to go to St. Louis, or you want to go to Myrtle Beach, or you want to go to Florida, or you want to go to New York, especially if you're in California, well, then reach out to the other 30 teams and put together 10 or 11 guys. And then meet.
I've seen that before on the message board. I think people in California have tried to do that, where they've said like, hey, let's throw together a free agent team to go to, this tourney. I've never seen it pan out.
Right.
And if JB's listening, he's usually got his finger on the pulse of stuff like that if he wants to weigh in. But I've just never seen something like that actually materialize, because now you're talking about taking 10 people, 11 people you don't know. Maybe you know them from seeing their face on the circuit, but just throwing it out there and trying to, how hard it is to manage your guys who every year. Now try managing 10, 11, 12 guys that you've either never met before or only seen on the playing field and maybe haven't spoken to. It's a lot easier said than done.
Steve, I want to keep everything honest here and accurate. And in 2014, there was a West Coast team that was put together of 10 or 11 guys from all over the state and came and played in St. Louis. Tyson Becker was actually the MVP of the tournament that year.
Okay.
But I'm just saying it has happened.
No, okay. So once in the last 7 years, I don't know. That's why I asked. It wasn't a rhetorical question. I don't know. I've seen it posted out there. And if you showed me that roster that Tyson was MVP of, if they won the tournament and Tyson was MVP, I highly doubt that it was 10 random strangers that didn't know each other. So it may have been a team put together based on all California teams, but if you send me that roster, I guarantee you it's 10 or 11 names that we all know.
I know it's a good conversation, man, because I know we have different people chiming up. I know Jason's talking about, like my man said with the nice beard, the teams with money, sponsors would dominate an open structure. West Coast champion, East Coast champions in the world should stay 2-state for sure, but maybe other tourneys open. And Jeff says, let's cut to the chase. Steve wants to pitch for a top 10 team. Listen, I want to be an astronaut, but not everyone gets to fly a rocket. We love you, Steve.
One thing I want to say to Jason, shout out to you for the beard. Man, I don't know you. We'll drink a beer sometime, but I am a police officer before you say I'm a corrections officer. I just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
So let's see.
So let's go on to the next topic.
Well, no, hold on. We got if you don't have guys that travel, then find other guys from other teams from within your state or touching state. There's still options to go play in any tournament. It may just take a little work and the unknown of what quality the team might be. One more is, let's see. Jeff says the reason those free agent Cali teams have not materialized is because nobody took a leadership role. Give me a leader and I will give you a team.
Well, it sounds like JB, who's had a history of leading teams, should maybe lead a team now that he's retired. So I challenge JB to put a team together.
I like that idea, Steve. I really do. And I second that challenge to JB.
There we go. Look for a JB's All-Stars, #2022.
Dustin, what's going on, Dustin? How you doing, brother? John says, mic drop wit. Now we can go on to the next subject. So, Joe, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. And this one was called let's see if Deanna's ready, our waiver discussion. But I do still want to hear what you guys have to say about don't forget about to leave your comments and I'll review them later about the open or the two-state rule. I know one thing with our tournament is we call it the National Police Softball Championships. On that note, when you have a title like that, I think the two-state rule is appropriate. It's you want to keep that integrity, if you will, of a national tournament. And I think that's what we're going for with this particular one. But I absolutely love, one of the best compliments, Steve, I've had is when the night shift came down to the Texas Showdown. They were so freaking happy that they got to get together and play. And I'll never forget, the way I was made to feel because of giving them that opportunity. And so, D Ward and all those guys, Jay-Z and everybody, yourself. I mean, it was just such a cool feeling to hear about that opportunity to play. So I am considering throwing a one of our tournaments at the beginning of the year that would be open, and then that National Police Softball Championships, Keepers of the Peace, a bit later in the year, kind of as a warm up, but not so close to the World Series. So that's going to be kind of our plan for next year. But anyway, just to let you know, let's see. All right. So Joe, like I said, if you don't mind, we'll take the waiver discussion on now. So explain to us what this waiver discussion is about. I only put a very limited title on the show, but go ahead and give us what the actual title is and why we're going to be discussing that.
Well, it's a free agent waiver process, and it's not a rule that's in place or anything like that, but it's been talked about over the last couple of years. There's been several people that are in positions, different players who are in positions who don't have options to play on a major division team, and they'd like to play on a major division team. The idea behind this waiver process, it's been talked about. Like I said, it's been talked about. It's actually been talked about on this podcast last year at some point. I don't remember when, but it's also been brought up to the competition committee. And I just thought it'd be an interesting topic, especially to have when we got Steve and Whit here on the podcast with us. But the idea behind the free agent waiver process is to allow the types of players who don't have that option to play with a major division team, who want to play with a major division team, that option to do so. And while at the same time, it's designed to not necessarily open the floodgates of you're not lifting the two-state adjoining rule completely. And it's going to be, it would be basically at the competition committee's discretion, and it would be a case-by-case kind of thing, where it's not just you're opening the floodgates and it's a free for all kind of thing. And then so there's a few different types of players who fall into this category or whatever, where they want to play. And so Deanna, if you could put those up on the screen for me. So I changed the names of these players, but over the last couple of years, I've had conversation with several people, and these are 4 different kind of unique situations that people are in or have been in. And for instance, Ray lives and works in Montana. He has 0 teams at any level in his state or surrounding states, and he's unable to play because of that. Now, sure, he can go out and try to get a team, get another 10, 11 guys. What if Ray's only got about 2 or 3 more years to play competitively? It's not, by the time he gets that team up and going, he's not where he wants to be. He wanted to compete at the major level, and he's not able to do so. I think someone in that situation should have the option, and I think the free agent waiver option would make sense in this case. Matt Thomas, current major division team, and that team folds. The only other major option that he has passes on them, they don't want to mess up their team chemistry. So they say, Matt, we're not interested at this time. His only options would be then to play for a gold division team. And again, Matt, like Ray, only has a couple more years that he thinks, he's playing in his prime and he wants to play the best of the best and wants to play in that continue to play in that major division like he has over the last several years. And now it doesn't have that option. Another player, in my opinion, Matt, would fall into the category of this free agent waiver process benefiting him. And I think someone like that should be able to have that option. Now, Brad Jones currently plays on a gold division team, wants to play on a major division team, but only has options already because he only has his only options to play in the major division is a team that has players from 2 states already. So they can't pick him up. His only other option is a gold division team. He wants to play up. I think he deserves an option to do so. Steve Williams currently plays on a gold division team. All major division options have passed on him because of roster sizes. And the gold division team is the only option. Again, he wants to play major, and I think he deserves that option. Now, the way this would all work out is let's say these 4 guys all go through the competition committee, and the competition committee says, yeah, these guys deserve to be placed on the free agent waiver wire, whatever you want to call it. So these 4 guys would place on the waiver wire. Then you'd look at if they're all looking to get on a major team, you say the top 20 teams at that particular time. So if you look at in reverse order, 20 through 1, which these are the current rankings, and then you have you have guys like Ray, Matt, Brad, and Steve all on the list. Nassau looks at that list and they say, okay, we need a pitcher. Let's go ahead and grab Brad Jones. So they pick up Brad Jones. There's still 3 names left on the list. Silver Stars next, we give them a call. They have an opportunity to look at the list. They look at the list. They say, no, we don't want to mess with our team chemistry. We're not interested in anybody on the list. We're going to go ahead and pass. So then it goes down to Maryland. They say, we need a pitcher. There's a pitcher on that list still. We want Steve on our team. So then to go down to Northern Lawman, they need a middle infielder. They need they say we need to pick up Ray. That's who we need. They select Ray. You go down to Border Patrol. They say the same thing that Silver Star says. They don't want to mess with their chemistry. They're going to go ahead and pass on the final player on the list. Kentucky Blue says we want him. They pick them up, and the list is complete. And it would go. Every team would have an option to either pass or pick up a player on that list. And I wouldn't anticipate the list being very big, like a 40-man list or anything like that. I would think every year would maybe be like a 3 to 5 person list. And I don't think that, like I said, in those specific situations that I listed, I think they have a good argument on why they should have that option to be on, the free agent waiver list if that was available for them. And like I said, I've had these conversations over the last 2 years with guys that were in these exact situations that were listed earlier up on the screen. And, I think it just makes for good conversation. And it's, you never know until you try something. But I think that it could, I was talking to Steve about it, and it's the way that it would be set up. It would be set up to where the lower teams, or the lower ranked teams out of the major division would get first pick of these players, and it would help the balance of that division. So you're balancing out that division, which in turn, I believe, would help maintain the size of that division. So you have 20 teams. You don't have these teams. You're building up the teams that are 15 through 20 to help move up, and you're helping balance the competition as well as maintain the division. In my eyes, I think that's a good thing for the circuit, and that's kind of why I put this idea together. And I know Steve and Whit both have opinions on this situation, this process, I guess you call it. And I'd like to hear, what both of them have to say about it.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you this, Joe, you're something special. You are something special. You're That's why when we threw
You're making me blush, man. Stop.
That's why when we threw last year's tournament, I was like, when you said, dude, I'm with you. We'll make it happen. We want to give everybody an opportunity to play since we can't go to Vegas. I was super happy because I already know, dude, you're a multitasker and you don't do anything half-assed. It's right up my alley. But I definitely going to need Steve and Whit to comment on this one because I was never good at story problems or word problems in math. They lost me after the train left Chicago on half a tank at 3:33 in the morning. I was done. So, all right, we'll let Steve. But first, real quick, Jason says, I think that's a good idea. The list stays small, and all approved waivers should be reevaluated each year as well. We appreciate that feedback, Jason.
And that's another thing is that, you know, the way, because let's say someone does hop on this waiver list and they hop on the waiver list and a team opens up in their state, the major team there that didn't want them says, hey, we want you. You're making a commitment to, in my eyes, I think it needs, if this were to take, were to be passed and would be a thing in the PS.com circuit, I think that person should have to commit to that team. And they're going to know that going into it, but commit to that team for 2-3 years or something along those lines, so that it's not like they're just jumping around year after year after year. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So, Jason, I appreciate that feedback, and I'm going to let you guys answer real quick, Steve, or Whit. Go ahead, man.
I went first last time, so I'll let Whit go first this time.
All right, go ahead, man.
The first, I got to plug you, Trini. Don't you guys do like a Keepers of the Peace training? And if you do, I think you should probably put something on about confidential informant naming, because if you couldn't get the information off what Joe put up there, you probably at your training, I recommend putting a class together.
I thought
his CIs are only used once.
First and last letters. I thought about swapping.
He's got a problem with his name, but if you couldn't figure that, Joe wrote that in Crown. So maybe put that together. That would be pretty good.
I wrote it in what? What was that? Crown.
He's trying to say crayon.
Maybe crayon. If you're
He's trying to say crayon.
Yeah.
Joe didn't think people would understand this, wild concept if you use player X or player Y. That the naming convention really hit it home.
Yeah, we need.
I'm glad you guys got the humor.
As far as the waiver process goes, the reason why I've been against it is I believe that there's going to be some unintended consequences that happen with it. And those consequences are possibly that, let's say, I don't know what your CI name was, but let's say Brad Jones wants to jump down to team 20, right? What happens when team 20 now has a player who goes to sit on the bench from his own state, from this 2 state? Does he get to then go? Does he get to say, okay, I want a waiver as well? I'd like to go to team 19 or team 18. And now the trickle effect is that people are just moving all over this spectrum, and you might as well just open it up completely, because basically I'll use this Brad Jones as an example. Does Brad Jones have an opportunity to play at the major level in his state? Right. And if he does, then the reason for his wanting to leave that area is probably because someone's blocking him in that position on the team in his state. So now he moves to another state and takes away an opportunity from someone from that state. Do they then get to move to another state, and then the next person, and then the next person? How does that work?
So the way the thing I envision it, I guess, in my mind is that a person that hops on this waiver free agent waiver wire list, they know going on there that they don't get to pick and choose what team they get on. The teams are picking and choosing off that list who they want. And if they're picking and choosing somebody, most likely it's a position that they need and that that they're trying to fill. I think that's the objective, at least in my mind.
So if team 20 needs a pitcher, right? They say, I don't like Whit. He can't pitch. He's old. Then I pick up Brad Jones, right? Well, then Whit says, man, but I could probably pitch for team 18. So I take a waiver and I want to go to team 18, right? And then their pitcher on team 18 Billy Bob says, man, I'd like to play for team 16. Right.
It wouldn't be that I want to play for this team, I want to play for that team, because they don't have an option of what team they get to go to. They just know they're probably going to end up on.
Who's the next team that needs a pitcher because somebody just took my spot?
Yeah,
right.
And so the way I see this is somebody who doesn't have an option to play on a major team. Now, if they're picking up a pitcher and then whoever was their pitcher at the time, to me, they
hold on, Joe. I'll make this real simple. This already happens. Just read the Stooley page in the offseason in California. You just said we have 30 teams. So that exact thing happens in California, right? I mean, deals start getting done in probably June or later. And then as soon as the day after the World Series happens, these 5 guys are going from here to this team, and it's shuffle up and deal. Now, I get it. That's a California problem.
I think the other 49 states have already dealt with enough of California's problems that we don't want more.
I get it. So this isn't about making California's problems everyone else's problems. Every single World Series that we have had, the Majors division has had a team from California or New York, with, I believe, 11 of the 15 champions being from California, right? So that's fine. If the rest of the country wants to just sit back and watch California and New York be in every single final, go for it. But I think what Joe is trying to say is that not just like, Brad Jones, whatever, like look at the top teams, right? The Ohio Lawmen, I don't know if they still do, but they used to roll into the World Series with the equivalent of 2 or 3 teams, right? Because if you wanted to play majors, Ohio was your option, right? Or look at California, the West Coast, where I've been playing 10 or 11 years, and the viable majors teams used to be 7. It's now down to 3. So, people are going to the top, and people are either sitting the bench or going somewhere else. So what you're talking about is already happening. So why not open those options to try to spread load that talent to make it more of an even playing field? Because in my opinion, over the last 10 years, it's just gotten worse in terms of the parity at the top versus everyone else.
Do you think if Brad Jones went to play for the number 20 team, that they're going to bump that California team? And here's my point. If Brad Jones was the best pitcher in California, he would be pitching for the team in the World Series, right? If he's the 4th or 5th or the 6th or the 7th or the 8th best pitcher, is he going to make that team in Missouri or Kentucky or Tennessee or Indiana? Is he going to make them that much better to bump out the California team?
So, no. Are they going to is one player going to take them from, 20 to 1? Likely not, right? But let's look at the World Series history, right? We have split up, if we're going to talk what Mark Jackson said, it used to be, one division, 60 teams. Then it was 32 uppers, 32 lowers. Then it was like 32 and 32, but then the top 16 of that, 32 and the bottom 16, and now we're split into 4. But realistically, if we're all being honest with ourselves, to win that majors title, I would argue that in any given year, there is at most 10 teams that could legitimately run through that bracket. I'm not talking about win one game, but run through that bracket to win the majors divisions. Maybe 10, and I think that that's heavy, and I would probably put it closer to 7. That being said, look at teams that roll heavy, right? Whether it be California teams, now that there's 3 majors, they're all pushing probably close to 20 rosters, or 20 players on the rosters, if not more. So what if they go to the World Series, they don't play an ounce of time, players 20 through 25, let's say on the connection or blue or DEA, all 5 of those guys say, screw it, we want to enter that waiver system. So now you deplete the depth of the top team and you inject some, let's call it top team or top 2 or 3 team talent into that mid or lower major level caliber teams. Now maybe we're closing the gap, right? Now maybe it attracts another player in an adjoining state, or who knows what can happen. But all I can tell you is that the last 5 years, it's really coming down to a handful of teams that are the quote favorites every year, and that's not changing.
So what do you think?
Real quick, Justin, if you don't mind, man, I just want to be able to to get Jeff's making some comments, and we all know that he's been at it for a while.
Jeff's
So I wanna
making
be able to-
comments. Tell him to call in.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, and I did, but I think he wants to just hear what everything that's going on first. Let me just read what he has. There's two of them, and then Anna Marie also is making a comment. So Jeff says upper division in Vegas is majors and mids, top 32 teams. I don't see how a guy leaving a team ranked 30 to join a team ranked 10 helps the circuit. The strong get stronger, and the divide between uppers and lowers gets wider.
That's already happening.
Real quick, Anna Marie, let me just read these three. So what's going to happen when teams start making calls and recruiting mid-major gold players to jump ship when their turn comes up, possibly to get a free agent? And then Jeff commented, let's say Nitro is team 32, which is lowest ranked upper team. Steve becomes a free agent because he wants to play on a better team and becomes a free agent. Nitro, being 32nd, gets the first shot at the waiver wire because their pitcher quit so they can pick up Steve. So these are some of the comments, just bringing you up to par with these things, and just to see what y'all's comments are to those.
I'll comment. I'll comment to Jeff there. That situation with Nitro would never happen because the competition committee, like I said, it would be a case by case situation with this waiver process, and we would look in to see if he has an option. If Nitro says, "Hey, yeah, Steve's got an option. We want him on our team," then and he's in Nitro's major level team or major division team, then he has that option to play in the major division, so he doesn't have an argument about, hey, I want to go play majors, I'm in gold, blah blah blah. And so there would never be an opportunity for him to leave a major division team and get picked up by the same major division team. It doesn't make any sense. So because we would look into that kind of thing. I don't foresee anything like that happening. But and I also don't foresee it being the top 32 teams. I would think maybe 20, 24, something along those lines. And if Nitro's 32 and he wants to play in the major division, team number 20 Nassau Blues would have first crack at him. If they want a pitcher, they pick him up. I mean, and to me, and I don't know. I think Jeff asked, "How's this going to help how's this help the circuit?" I think you're helping the circuit because you're giving the guys the opportunity to play the division they want to play, while also, like I said earlier, you're balancing out that major division. You're putting some talent in the back end, I guess, of the division, if you want to call it that, and leveling out the competition there. That's my opinion on it. But Steve, I know you were getting ready to say something before I cut you off.
That's fine.
Steve, real quick, we're approaching an hour and 9 minutes. Great topic. I love keeping it going. Just we'll keep them short, and we have some comments also that we want to be able to address. But go ahead, Steve.
No, I agree with Joe in that Jeff's situation I don't think would happen. And also, every other, and I'm not comparing us to Civi, but I understand, or it seems as if every other softball organization organizes the levels by talent level. Like we seem to be doing this, and yes, we do this, but with the constraints of, again, geography, and that just doesn't make sense to me. And I know that some of the other stuff is, what if this player tries to recruit and do this? We have so many rules that people already try to break. We have, just in recent years, we have the provided bats, and we have documented that someone tried to use their own bat, right? We have eligibility requirements, and we have documentation to show that teams have used illegal players. So will there be people and teams trying to exploit these rules? Unfortunately, yes. But does that stop us from going forward with a good idea that I think Joe has, or something that might better the sport overall? Because there might be a couple people that try to exploit that. Hasn't stopped us before, so I don't know why we would make that the limiting factor this time.
And I think it's a good point to bring up that you have to have these conversations. You have to bring them up. You have to be able to bring up the pros, the cons, and iron it out. Because, Steve, we were talking earlier, and you brought up about how people don't like change. We don't like, in the first responder community, we don't like change, but then it comes around, we adjust, and then and things tend to be like the norm after a while, and we like the move. So it's good to have these types of conversations, and that's what I like about this type of a format. It gives us an opportunity outside of texting or just chatting to each other to be able to bring it up and have this type of response. I know Donnie says Cali teams keep moving guys, but it's still one state. These other guys are not moving in state. They don't have teams. You guys are getting off the point on this, is what his comment is. And John says this, and Jeff says he agrees. So we'll see what John says. Steve goes on the wire, gets picked up by Texas. Ooh, Joe, take it easy, Joe. Take it easy. Texas pitcher says, screw this, I'm out. Then after World Series, LAPD talks to Steve, and he goes to LA. Now Texas is screwed.
Joe has an answer for this.
Jeff
So
responded,
that's what I said earlier.
He says John is correct. Guys will manipulate this to the extreme. This will be like James Harden demanding a trade and picking the team he needs to be traded to. So go ahead, Joe.
Well, that's like I said earlier, is the guys that get on this waiver, they know that they don't have the option of what team's going to be picking them up. They know it's probably going to be a team maybe 13 through 20 or whatever, but they're not sure exactly which one and which order these teams are going to pick the guys in on the waiver list. And also knowing going in that they're going to commit to that team for X amount of years. And I think 3 years is a good number, but that would, first things first, this whole waiver process, which I don't know that we'll ever get through to the circuit, but I'm just saying, I'm just saying that if it did, then that would be something that you'd have to think about, because like you said, it could be exploited. But if they know they have to commit to that team for 3 years, even if they do have an option that opens up in their home state, they know that going in. And let's say they drop off that team that they went to, so they don't play in the circuit for 2 years. That's their fault. They got in there knowing that was going to be the case, and that's I think something like that needs to be put in place if this waiver process ever were to go through.
So one comment and maybe a solution, right? I don't know if either one of them will make sense. My one comment is this: the danger of that is, if you let a lower team, so let's say that 18, 19, 20 team picks up Brad Jones, and they pick him up just to block him from being able to go to the next team, right? Yeah, I need a pitcher. You come play with me. Brad Jones goes to him. Well, now Brad Jones never plays for me, but I make sure that the team above me doesn't get him. You locked him into 3 years where the guy's never going to play, right? That's my first. The second is this. JB got rid of the Masters tournament, and JB, I know you're listening. I don't know if this is possible. Right? He moved the Masters tournament to another. Maybe if guys are interested in this and they have an appetite for it, then maybe on the final day of the World Series that seems to be open now, have an 8 to 10 team 1 day open tournament where guys can pick up all over the country. They can play with each other. It's a free for all. The best of the best play each other. It's an open World Series. Instead of the Masters tournament or instead of the single agency, maybe 1 year just open it up, right? Just pick 8 to 10. Maybe JB picks 8 to 10 coaches from around the country that, he thinks are doing a good job. They pick up their 10, their 12 guys, and there's an open World Series. Guys can play together at the World Series, and they can take a chance to win it all in an open format. Maybe that's the solution, right? I don't know what the answer is, because I think that there's benefits to both. I think the person that ultimately gets left out here is, and I think Donnie chimed in a minute ago, is the guy from Tennessee or the guy from Idaho who doesn't have an option to play at that level, who doesn't have an option to play at the major level. This was Donnie's comment where, California is really the anomaly. There's plenty of options to play major there. What about Brad Jones, who maybe is from, I don't know, Kansas City? Let's call it that, right? Maybe Brad Jones is from there and he doesn't have an option to play major. Then how does he find that option? I guess we could entertain that, but that may be a solution.
To the first thing you said, I think no matter what you do, no matter what rules you put in place, people are going to try to, not exploit them, but try to not take advantage of them. Like maybe that is what it is. Maybe they are exploiting. Maybe they are taking advantage.
How about
or
find a way to
win. Try and find a loophole or whatever. I mean, people are going to try to find, like you said, find a way to win and do what they got to do to get who they want. I think no matter what the rules are, I think that's going to happen. Now, to the point that you made about the guy up in Montana or Idaho, I think for sure something needs to be done about that. A guy that's got no options needs to have an option. I mean, I get, hey, go find 10 guys and make a team. But that's easier said than done. You know what I mean? And for sure, something needs to be done about that. Now, the other stuff, you know, I do think that this free agent way, you know, if guys put their heads together, I think we could come up with a decent, you know, a decent plan, a process for that waiver free agent process or waiver wire. But, you know, do I see it happening? Probably not, because I know there's a lot of pushback about it since I brought it up and since
but Joe,
over the last couple of
you
years.
know what, man? I'll tell you what. Things don't happen if you don't go out on a limb and put yourself out there, and that's what you guys are charged to do. You know, this committee's charged to look at these things, to throw those questions out there, to get the feedback, and ultimately, I feel for people. I think Brad was in a situation, and I don't know the specifics about it, but I remember, you know, there are people that are in situations where, Tyler wants to come in from Canada all the time, wants to play. You know, and if you know, and I know that there are bordering states, but I mean, there might be a situation where he wants to go a certain tournament or a certain, you know, in a certain 2-state rule type thing, like in my tournament, for instance. It's not the World Series. I like to follow the format. It's been tried and tested, and it's something that guys are obviously okay with, and that's why we show up to Vegas every year. So I like to follow it. But at the same time, I feel like I have a little more leeway to be able to make those types of decisions for somebody who presents a situation to me and says, hey, dude, I'm in Canada, bordering, you know, states to my country. Don't allow me to go play. I want to play. And it sucks because the perception will be if he picks up with a top tier team, oh, dude, you're allowing people to show up. Why did I show up to this tournament? If he doesn't show up with a top tier team, then no harm, no foul. But, you know, it's one of those things that I feel for people in these situations. And I just feel like, you know, I think it's a great subject matter to be brought up. This is just the intro, if I'm not mistaken, guys. It's the first time we're talking about this. So it's something, I know maybe it's been brought up on the message board before, but never in a format like this. So I think
it was talked about last year at some point on one of our podcast episodes. I'm not sure which one, but it was brief. You know, it wasn't a full-on conversation.
No, honestly, that may have been off air before we went on.
Okay.
And just one other thing, because I seem to be taking a lot of heat on this subject. A few years back, when JB threw on the message board about cutting California off from a second state, and I think maybe New York as well, I was actually in favor of that, because I'm all in favor of leveling the playing field and giving California an extra state, or New York an extra state, when just in Southern California, between LA Sheriffs and LAPD, they have 20,000 sworn and NYPD has 40,000 sworn. I was for that. So it's not just about, you know, I don't know, whatever. I want it to be level. I don't care what the answer is. I've also said that limiting the roster to 15 might fix this problem as well, because now your managers have to think long and hard about the guy they're picking up. Are they picking up the guy that's just going to make it to the World Series? Are they picking up a guy, you know, that's going to play all year, but then that guy's going to get benched because the guy's showing up to the World Series? I think there's multiple fixes here, but I think just being complacent and thinking that where we're at right now without any kind of improvement is not a great thought, and that's just my opinion. Whatever the answer is, I think that there's enough smart guys on the circuit that they can figure it out. But I think when JB suggested that California go to a one state, a lot of people really unhappy with that. I mean, think back. Wow, JB agrees with me on something. That's awesome. But if you think back, Battleborn in their heyday, I think had more California players than Nevada players. Like, you know, California doesn't need the help. See, and then
well,
right,
you didn't,
because he's from Arizona and he knows if they went to one state, he'd be back to Goodyear. So, you know, it again, like, look at the World Series. The history doesn't lie. Every single final has included California or New York.
and I know we'll try to cut it at 1:30. I like this. I mean, I can go all night, but I'll tell you, Mark says committing to a team for more than 1 year when you don't know any of the teammates seems unfair. What happens when it just doesn't work out? So now he won't play for 2 more years to be free.
I agree with Mark on that. I think I don't know if Joe's trying to be like the NCAA or what his deal is, but
well,
I think every year could be fine, right? And like you said, if someone gets relegated to the bench, I don't think Joe's mentioned this, but you know, this would be, at least between he and I talking, this would only be an off-season thing. This wouldn't be hey, in June, I'm looking to jump on with this team for the series, so let's try to get through the waiver wire. No. I mean, we have from I agree, JB. Imagine, we have a period of, let's call it October 15th to now. The kickoff seems to be the beginning of March. We have 2, 3, 4.5 months to go through what should probably be a limited list and figure it out and vet it out and make sure that nobody's trying to manipulate it. We have that time, guys. And if it's going to make the circuit better, why not?
I usually play it hard, and here's why I play it hard. As a gold level team, Louisville's a gold level team. It's what we are. It's what we've been. Sometimes we fluctuate into the mid-major, but usually we're a gold level team. We are constantly told, get better. If you want to compete, get better, right? Well, whenever it comes to the major, we start to make these exceptions. And basically what we're saying is don't get better. Go out and fish for your people and bring them in so that you're better, right? But not every team wants to do that. Not every team wants to go out and completely rebuild their team every year. I've had the same core group of guys every year. They show up, they're having tougher and tougher times running to first base, right? And we're okay with that, right?
And that's your option, Whit. So if you get that waiver list and you like your team chemistry, and that's, I think, another component that we haven't touched on, is it is going to severely test the loyalty of players and managers. And maybe people don't want to know what that reality is, right? Are they valuing, the sponsorship, as people have suggested? If you open it up, are they valuing that? Are they valuing the camaraderie? You'll see all that come to the surface, and maybe nobody wants to see that answer. So if you like your team and you stay with your guys, I respect the hell out of that. So you don't even look at that waiver wire because you're good with your guys. Nobody's saying you have to do this. I think the spirit behind it is giving more people more options. You don't have to participate in it. And if everybody's good with their team, and then, the waiver passes through and nothing changes, right? But I think that you'll start to see what happens in California every single year. You're going to have people changing. JB is going to be working double time on that Stooley page. That's what's going to happen realistically.
And it's weird, Justin, because my heart is with you, because that's my team. That's how we were and then when I went to the World Series and I saw that competition, went up there a couple of times, there was a few players that were kind of not really putting in the work. And I realized I need to know, team, are we coming up here to participate, or are we coming up here to win this? Because if we're going to come up and participate, we're going to stay with our guys, but we're coming up here to just do what we can. And I don't want to put my heart into it. Let's just go play, which I knew I could never do, but let's just go play and then we'll hang out. It's Vegas. And we made a decision after a couple of years. It was like, oh man, I can't handle this. I can't handle going up there and getting it handed to us every time. So we're going to have to make some changes. But I made the decision to be either competitive and an opportunity to try to win something, or stay with my heart and stay with that team. And so at least for the World Series, which I think is mainly what we're talking about, that's an interesting point. I feel where you're coming from, Justin, with my heart. And then Steve, I understand where you're coming from with the competition aspect of it. I know that Jeff says Whit needs to grow his hair out and he would be a body double for WWE champion Daniel Bryan. And then that's what Jason was laughing about.
Because he always has the wrestling references. That's all I could ask for. Somebody earlier said I had a little bit of Luke Combs. Every now and again, I get a little bit of Zach Brown band, so I'm just here for whatever you guys need.
Whit for president 2024. Hey, Dan McIntyre, great things you're doing out there for Special Olympics with that polar plunge, man. I want to get your information out there for the next podcast so we can let people know how they can support you with that polar plunge, man. And he says if Steve wears his shorts, everyone will want them. I need that picture. I know we have it, and I need that picture. Jeremy says, Joe, is that a caterpillar on your lip? And
thanks, Jerry.
Jeff says, players from 49 other states all say the same thing. Don't make your Cali problem our problem.
Which is why so many Californians are leaving in retirement. So,
well, going back to what you just said,
I'm moving to
Trini,
Texas.
Going back to what you said before you started looking at those comments, it was you know, the whole thought process behind this waiver thing is you get someone in a situation where they don't have a team or they've been playing majors for 10 years, their team folds, and you're just trying to help that guy out. He wants to play majors his last couple of years, or he wants to play on a team, and you want to help them out while doing it the fairest way possible. And I think giving them that opportunity to play in that division they want to play in, but not necessarily allowing them to jump on the best team, I think that's the fairest way to do it. And that was kind of the whole mentality behind it. It's not that, you know, that the circuit sucks or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all, because I think the circuit's awesome. Yeah. I'm just saying to try to help guys in those specific situations that I listed, I think it makes sense. But I don't envision a list of 40 people every year. That's not what I think is going to happen. I would think that it would be just a few guys every year.
Yeah, and that's a starting place, Joe. And that's what I love about what you guys are doing, man. You're starting somewhere. You're starting the conversation. We narrow it down, and we give these guys an opportunity who don't have one to be able to participate. So I love it, man. I think it's awesome. So I'm open to it. Hey, Steve, Justin, I really appreciate you guys being here, man. This is sometimes I have to, it's like pulling teeth to get people to kind of like say something or whatever, and no issue with you guys. And it's all full of great content, man. And I really appreciate it. I know that people are starting to comment. Let's see. Yeah.
Well, hold on one second. I gotta throw this out to JB. I got a Macho Man Randy Savage throwback on my workout shirt today. So I know he loves the wrestling. I can't have him mad at me for a long time.
Oh man.
Thanks, E.
All right. Yeah, man. Hey, well, I appreciate it. Steve, Justin, thank you so much again for being here. We'll have you guys back on. If you guys want to be able to comment on what we've been talking about all night long, I really would like to be able to have some more feedback. When we get off this live broadcast, you can still leave your comments in the comment section, and then we can send them, have it come up for another discussion. Because I'd like to be able to kind of narrow this down, have some more. And if it's dead in the water and it is what it is, and we kill it. But if not, then let's improve on it. Because Steve, you have a great point. We all put our minds together. We can come to some type of a solution to this. And I think it's out there. It's just a matter of putting it out there on the table and then getting the response from everybody involved. So that's awesome. Steve, Justin, thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it. I don't take your time lightly. I really appreciate you guys being here, man.
Thank you very much.
Hey, man, hold on real quick, because I'll keep you here. Don't sign off, all right?
All right.
All right, man. Thank you, guys. All right, Joe, you took a lot of hits on your mustache, man. I don't get it.
Yeah, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, I don't get it. Mark
says
it
must look good if people are talking that much about it.
Trini, we have our polar plunge scheduled for April 24th in your favorite place, South Lake Tahoe. I love South Lake Tahoe. And I'll tell you what, Mark is one heck of a golfer out there. He golfs quite often. I plan on going to do a tee time with Trini. If you haven't subscribed yet, please help me out. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel on Trini Trinidad. I have tee time with Trini, traveling with Trini. And of course, we have the Police Softball Podcast. And I really would appreciate y'all's support, because you get the notifications when you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell on the right-hand side, and hit that top notification bell. You'll get notified, and you'll be able to still watch the show, but you just watch it on YouTube. And that just helps me out to be able to keep this thing going. So let's see here. Tyler says Witt could easily be a stunt double for Yukon Cornelius. Let's see. Anna Marie says, if you don't have an option, that's one thing. If you have options and don't like them, that's another. Good point. Jeff says, good stuff, Steve. Let's see. Jason says, it was good to see different perspectives in a joint forum. Well done. You know what, Jason, that's what I love about this format is sometimes when it comes down to, and Steve and Justin, I know you'll agree with this. When you have text messages, you can't see the face. You can't hear what comes before it, what comes after it. And sometimes it can be misinterpreted, and maybe taken the wrong way. And it leads for a lot of open, I don't know, I guess feelings, Joe, for being able to be, not combative, but, just aggressive, I guess. And this allows everybody to understand we're just trying to throw this out there. It's not from a bad place. We're not down in the World Series. We're not any efforts that have been made in any other way
Not at
other
all.
than just to bring up something. And in this forum, you're able to see faces, reactions, and things like that. So I think it's really, really good to be able to have this format. Dan says Stash is glorious.
Thanks,
And
Dan.
Audrey says, don't sweat it, Joe. As long as Missy loves it, it's all good.
She
Does
hates
Missy love
it.
That's what I figured.
She hates it.
Oh, man, that's funny. All right. Well, then, hey, Joe, it was a great show. Really happy to be able to have this subject matter. Thanks to you guys for being able to. It takes courage to come on this this show and to be able to bring something up like this, because you're going to be met with some critiques and criticisms and things like that. But I do appreciate it, man. Thank you, Joe. I'm excited to be able to see where this goes.
Yep.
And I think we should follow it up on the message board. Hey, if you missed it, tune into the podcast, the video podcast, and then ultimately leave your comments on the message board, and then we can address them as we move forward. So I think this does need to, for those people who are in that situation, I think it does need to be addressed and see if there's a solution. At least if we hit it hard, nothing comes of it, well, then it's put to rest and we can always refer to it. You know what I mean?
Yep. I agree.
All right, man. Joe, thank you so much for joining me again, brother. I appreciate it, working through all the difficulties when it came to the connection and all. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yep. Thanks, bud.
All right, brother. All right, man. Well, hey, it's Trini Trinidad signing off from the Police Softball Podcast. I appreciate you spending as much time as you did. And don't forget, man, I got your 6.